Everybody, thank you so much for coming to this special event tonight. I really appreciate the very strong turnout. It's a testament to the strength of the Department of Theater Arts here at Drake University, and it's a real compliment to the leadership of our department, Chair John Pomeroy, and the experiences that you all collectively have shared, students of Doc Coleman over the years. I want to particularly introduce special guests, President Marty Martin. And let's please give an especially warm congratulations and thank you to Linda Robbins Coleman. Without
Nobody knows.
I want to also recognize Blake Campbell. Blake's inspiration, creativity, and leadership were absolutely essential in seeing this project to completion. We couldn't have done it without you. Thank you very much. The space that we're in tonight is made possible because of the love and respect so many individuals have for Dr. Coleman, and we're pleased to honor his incredible contributions to Drake University, the theater program, in this renovated space. This space promises to allow students to develop their creative passions, to push the limits on artistic development, and to become truly skilled professionals in theater arts for decades to come. It is now my great pleasure to introduce President Marty Martin, who will offer some comments on the event.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to campus. It's wonderful to have you here. You know, there's many things that are good about being the president of Drake University. It's quite a long list, but right up there at the top is the fact that we have such wonderful fine arts programs. They just provide inspiration to not just the members of our campus, but to so many members of our greater community. Indeed, it's one of the ways that members of Greater Des Moines and from beyond get to experience Drake. And every time they do, they become inspired by this place. They hold us in even higher regard than they already hold us, because what they witness are these amazingly powerful performances that come because of the strength and dedication and talent of our faculty and their commitment to working with our students to help them be their best in whatever their chosen discipline. And that covers, of course, a wide array of the arts. But nowhere is that more true than in our theater program. And so much of that magic takes place right here. And so it's wonderful to kind of be in this space with you to be celebrating the legacy of a man who made so much of this possible, Doc Coleman. I didn't have the privilege of knowing Doc. He had left Drake before I got here. But I certainly know of his legacy. He's been mentioned to me many times over, both on campus and in my travels across this country, and in connecting with some of you that are in this room tonight who've come from around the country to celebrate this evening. And I know that he's one of those people who have made this place what it is. And I've had the privilege, because of Linda, to meet a few more tonight who are sitting here in the audience with us, and to know that they as well have contributed to the legacy of the arts at Drake and to enabling me as president to have the experience that I have now in being a part of an institution that not only has this strong commitment to the arts, but lives that out in ways that has great, powerful effect. It's very inspiring to be here this evening in particular, and for many different reasons. One, again, we're celebrating the legacy of a man who's meant so much to this place. And two, the fact that all of you are here, that all of you have taken time out of your busy lives to be here and to recognize that legacy and to join in fellowship with each other in celebrating the arts at Drake and the theater program in particular at Drake. And these are the kinds of things that kind of keep me going as president. And I love that we've got a community that comes together for these types of events. I also have a very fond, the arts and the theater program in particular has a very fond place in my heart because of the surprise that it gave me at the end of my inauguration, which was this wonderful flash mob. I don't know how many of you know about this, but it just made the event, and it was well coordinated by Carla and some other of her colleagues, and it surprised me entirely. And it began with my mother standing up and singing. And the fact that she's done that to me my whole life led me to think, I'm thinking, is she supposed to be up? And then I said, where'd she get that microphone? And then my son got up second because he's a performer as well. So we've got my mother and my son. It skipped, I'm sorry to say, it skipped this generation, but to witness their beautiful talent. And then the stage was rushed by many students, and it just was a perfect ending to a perfect day. And I'll always remember that and cherish it. So I just want to acknowledge Carla and her other colleagues for putting that together. I tried for a while to refuse to speak in public without a flash mob. I wasn't getting very far with this. So maybe some other day I'll be so blessed. But again, welcome. We're glad that you're here. We all come together to celebrate a wonderful legacy and to recognize the contribution that this person made. And so many of you have stepped up and made your own contributions to make the renovation of this space possible. So thank you for that philanthropy. It's certainly a nice testament to the power of what philanthropy can do for a place. So thank you for being here and welcome. It's now my pleasure to invite John Palmer to the microphone.
Thanks, everybody, and welcome back. For those of you who I did not have the honor to work with, my name is John Pomeroy. I'm the current technical director for the Department of Theater Arts and the department chair. My nickname is Roy. Thank you. Thank you, classes 94 to 96 for that distinction. I had the honor of working with Doc for 9 years, and I can stand here and tell you with the utmost certainty that the foundations of what our programs are today are in place because of the work of Doc Coleman. The fact that Doc prioritized students first and foremost in everything that he did is a legacy that is carried forward to what we do today to the best of our ability. The fact that there are 2 distinct learning environments that we work within, and we made sure that we're part of the educational program as a whole. Teaching theater in the traditional classroom, but not just doing theater in the theaters, but using the theaters and the shops and the laboratories as an additional learning environment is a distinct carryover from what Doc did and put into place as far as that program is concerned. And finally, the high priority that he put into place that students have experience and knowledge in all areas of theater, no matter what their particular degree program was, is something that we emphasize today with great importance. I continue to have graduates come forward to me and share experiences and their thank yous for the fact that we have them come into the shop and throw sawdust from time to time. We have them behind the light and soundboard when they haven't had any experience doing it whatsoever. They continue to tell us that it's gotten us better jobs. It's continued to tell us that it's got them further in their careers because of that. And it was Doc that emphasized that and mentored me as a teacher that this was something important and needs to carry forward. I personally am grateful for Bill for 2 primary reasons. One, I'm thankful for the fact that he and Josie and Sally and Mike and John gave me, they took a chance. And I hired a guy straight out of graduate school, very little experience, and as green as green could be. And today I'm still here and thankful for the fact that they gave me that shot. And the fact that Bill was able to come across the hallway on a regular basis and say, this is what's happening, this is what we do, this is what you're doing wrong. This is something you might want to think about a little bit more. And so I'm thankful for that chance that he's given me. But in addition, I'm also thankful for his patience. When I started early on here at Drake, I had additional responsibilities of designing once a year, and I was designated as a scenic designer for production of Waiting for the Parade. and Bill was directing that production. He invited me into his office for an initial concept conversation. So we sat down and had a great talk about what his ideas were, what his intentions and inspirations were for the show. And then we got into the specifics as far as what the set needed to look like and what the set needed to do. And I had my published copy of the script in my lap, and he asked me if he could borrow it, and I said certainly, so I handed it to him. And he flipped to the back of the script, and he opened up the published ground plan, and he showed it to me, and he said, this is kind of what I'm thinking about. That's where I went blank, because I immediately said, oh, all right, that's interesting, can I borrow the script back? And he gave it to me, and I promptly tore that page out of the script, crumpled it up, and tossed it over my shoulder. And said, all right, now what can we talk about? What would you like to have this be? The moment I did that, I thought, you are out of your mind. Then, that day I went home and drove home all the way home thinking, boy, it was great working at Drake while I did. And rather than giving me the hairy eyeball over the top of his glasses, he instead gave me that deep-throated chuckle of his, and we had a wonderful and very, very productive conversation, and it turned out to be a wonderful show. So I'm thankful for Doc from a personal and professional standpoint. I'm thankful for what he did and his legacy that carries forward to the academic program that we have today in 2016. And I thank all of you for what has happened in regards to this particular facility and the fact that you guys are all here and in support of what we do today. I'm glad that we have the opportunity to honor him in this way. Thank you very much. And now I'd like to introduce Michael Bryant, class of 1974.
Showed up tonight. I first met Doc, or Bill as he wanted to be called, once I graduated, 1 month after I turned 18, as a wide-eyed freshman in Drake's theater department, and then invited to his house on 31st Street. I remember nervously ascending the 4 steps that led to the porch of Bill's house and being welcomed into his castle of books, scripts, and LPs lining the walls. Astonishment quickly gave way to Bill's welcoming smile and infectious laugh. A lowly freshman in the halls of the master. I had no idea what I was in for. Bill's tastes in drama involved favored irreverence and anarchy, directing among hundreds of other plays Joe Orton's World Gone Mad farce, What the Butler Saw. He decided to cast me as a lunatic inspector at a mental health clinic. I think that when I clicked on the comic irreverence of Orton's inverted world view, you can't be an irrationalist in an irrational world, my character intoned. It isn't rational. That line always cracked Bill up. Anyone who knew Bill knew the characteristic outburst of his laughter on this occasion. Cigarette at the time, gravely gave him cigarettes, with a 5-inch ash in one. The other hand thrown back to accompany his outburst of a patented laugh. And that's spelled B-W-A-H-A-hyphen. You get the idea. At that, the 5-inch ash would come cascading over his hair and across his right shoulder. During my junior year, I took a playwriting course with Bill and showed him a play, Lincoln. In it, I portrayed Honest Abe as a late-night TV show host, running his own slave auction. As Bill read through it, his face reddened slightly. I could hear him mumble, "Oh, Jesus, oh, Jesus." Followed by that trademark explosive laughter. Lincoln was staged in Drake's little theater, a small studio theater just across the street in Howard Hall, the predecessor of the space that we dedicate tonight. In mounting the play, where Lincoln sells slaves with a smarmy patter of a used car salesman, everything finally fell into place when we discovered Henry Peixoto, a senior drama major, to portray Old Abe. Fitted with a chin-strapped beard and a stovepipe hat, Henry looked just like the great emancipator had stepped down from the $5 bill and onto the slave auction block. Obviously, no one accused us of being too politically correct. How often in your college experience are you lucky enough to find mentors who listen and encourage, who teach not only by what they instruct you, but know when to step back and let you discover for yourself? That was really Bill's gift to everyone. I'm sure that everyone here tonight has many countless doc experiences of that kind of encouragement and personal bonding. Once in a lifetime person to meet. What we lived through at the time, and I'm sure the generations after I graduated, were unforgettable experiences that we had. Bill always favored things that were innovative and cutting edge, from his slapstick interpretation of the ancient Roman one-liners and A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, to his most surreal moment when he produced Black Sun and Night in the Ward Prado, in which Picasso's Guernica came to life with stunning colors and shapes, newly fallen from the canvas. Did I mention I had no idea what I was in for? Over the years, our conversations grew to embrace his passion for ancient drama, current Broadway openings, classic films, and classic theater. The talk invariably pinballed from Euripides and Antonin Artaud to Groucho Marx and Bill's beloved Honus Wagner. From the backstory of Shakespeare's players learning their lines in the Globe to a new production at the Old Vic Theater. In his production of Oedipus Rex, staged in this space 3 decades ago, Bill transformed this area into a throbbing Baclo womb from which the Theban king is expelled to a deafening soundtrack. Try saying it 10 times in a row. Crashing headlong into his uncanny, unseeable fate. Curiously, none of this had been hinted at in the Drake catalog. In the perennial It's a Wonderful Life, George Bailey, portrayed by Jimmy Stewart and Thompson, Suzu's Paddles, realizing he's been given the chance to see all the lives he's touched for the better, to fully understand how the world would be so much a less place without him. And as our dedication tonight continues to show us, Bill was one of the few rare individuals who could actually out-Bailey George Bailey. When I ascended those 4 steps 20 years ago, I had absolutely no idea what I was in for. I just hope Drake can somehow find a way to translate some sense of those life-transforming experiences into its future course catalog descriptions. For a university, that's a good problem to have.
It's now my pleasure to bring Linda Coleman to the podium to offer her words.
You guys, you could sit in those seats for the few moments that we have left. Go ahead. So someone else might clean them later, but for now, go ahead. Bill's oldest son, Wim, was supposed to speak after John Pomeroy, but sadly his wife got ill, and so he had to cancel his trip. And since Mike had delivered that moving tribute to Bill, when we had a little small gathering in August at the Alumni House, I asked him if he would reprise it here today. And so thank you so very much, Mike. And thank you, John, and thank you, President Martin, and thank you, Dean Somerville. But when Wim was unable to come, there was one thing that I wanted to include from Wim, so that Wim could still be a participant. Because as you know, Bill's son was not only a theater alumni, he worked here for years as well, and of course, being Doc's son, he knew him longer, really, than anybody in this room. So, so what he did, he wrote a poem, and he asked me if I would be willing to say his poem today. And here's the introduction. Dad's kinship with Euripides bordered on the mystical. In fact, he probably directed more productions of Euripides plays than anyone since, well, Euripides. And I think that's true. Sometimes, when enough wild turkey had been consumed, I found it hard to tell just which of the two I was talking to. Euripides is said to have been a misanthrope who hated Athenian life. Legend has it that he often ran off to Salamis Island, where he secluded himself in a cave to write his plays. Well, during the 1990s, archaeologists found the cave, or so they thought. And Dad and I talked about it. He was heading to Greece that summer with me, and so I tried to talk him into going to the cave, but he never did. I didn't know why until I started writing this poem. Now I think I do. The name of the poem is The Cave of Euripides on Salamis Island, lines written for the dedication of the William S.E. Coleman Studio Theatre. Wow, what a name. June 18th. But were you ever really here? Did you sit here brooding upon this cave's sullen lip, gazing over the Bay of Doves, a shrouded exile from lies and war and treachery, a world unto yourself? Did you come away from Athens to this dead heart, its throbbing chambers long since stilled and petrified, its arteries and veins drained of their wine? And were you ever really here? This clay shard with letters of your name proves nothing. Your acolytes came here seeking you, finding nothing but an empty cave. They wrote your name upon a bowl and drank from it in prayer, and sang your verses to these deaf, damp walls. Your acolytes were fools. These walls are nothing more than fog. Joy is deeper than woe, time deeper than thought. There is no firmament above our heads. The starry void goes on forever. Our lives do not. We can't stage a play in this cave. Let's go away, it doesn't matter where, and move our riches to an empty room that bears your name upon its door. A space that's rough, immediate, and holy, where dreamers walk and dance and sing their dreams awake to one another, where sacred lies and probabilities abound, where stories are told and worlds transfigured, where stone chambers of the heart turn flesh again, pulsing with the sweet wine of eternity, most terrible and gentle to us all. Writing genes. Before I read my remarks, I do want to thank people. As has been said before, without Blake Campbell, this project would not have happened. When I had the crazy idea 3 days after Doc died, actually as they were cremating him, a voice whispered in my ear saying, William S.E. Coleman Studio. And I thought, are you crazy? I thought, are you just the grieving widow gone mad? So I started making calls to some of you to see if I was, and if there was any support for this. And amazingly enough, or maybe not surprising, there was. So I went to Blake the next week and I said, do you think this might be possible? And Blake had approached us 6 months before Doc died with the idea of how we could honor Doc and just his legacy. And Doc thought what he would like is a guest artist fund as opposed to a scholarship, because a guest artist could benefit everybody in the department, and it was one of the things that got cut over the years. You know, we used to have a rich legacy of guest artists, from David Touché to Saul Frieder to Alice Sermley to just goes on, and they will be mentioned later on as well. But, and so we are finding the best of both worlds with this project, that we not only now have the William S.E. Coleman Studio Theatre. You know, it's the house that Doc built, but it's also the house that David Jones built. years. And so together, when the building was being planned, it was David who was, he was the one that kind of protected the theater, helped get the theater department into this building, who made sure that those corners were not right angles. They were And so David helped protect the physical part of this, and then the studio and the philosophy of the studio and the whole, as John Pomeroy mentioned, it became the house that Doc built for how he used the studio. This was the favorite place that Doc directed. He loved it. He loved directing in it, and there were so many options, and there were so many ways to explore. But Blake Campbell, without you, without your friendship, without your belief, without your support, you took it on as a labor of love. I couldn't have done it without you, and so thank you from the bottom of my heart. I would also like to thank the donors who have contributed. We've had, donors who have given so many. The Kelly family who gave kind of the foundation, Michael and Trudy and Patrick and Kevin, who gave the foundation of the whole fund to get us really kicked off. And then we have people like Debbie Hausler and Dan Neiden and Jim Rules and Jamie Cohill, and just all the donors who gave so much money. We ended up with really more than a couple of hundred, especially if you include spouses, who gave, and every donation matters, whether it be $10, that was as precious to me. And people sometimes who couldn't afford to give money, they gave up their time or they gave up their skills. And so it just, that without you, this is so important. And I'd also like to thank Amy Kopp Hasty, who sadly, her husband became ill yesterday, and they were even trying to make it yet today, but he had a relapse, and so they are not able to be here tonight. But in December, when Blake and I were discouraged because we were getting so close but not quite over the top, then Amy started a challenge, and so she helped take us, within 24 hours, take us over the top, and gave more of the alumni opportunities to participate in this tribute and this legacy to Doc. It could not have happened without any of your support. To Doug Lampy, when Blake left to find his new career at Best Buddies, then poor Doug, who had never encountered me before. Deer in the headlights. But he's so cute. And he's so lovely. So it's just been a joy and a delight, and I've really loved getting to know him and working with him. And I think I'm kind of loosening him up a little bit. And then Kimberly Jones, who is the alumni. Thanks to her, this whole reunion. She started at Drake in December. This is not only her first experience with theater people, it's her first reunion. And so, Kim, we love you. And the reunion committee, who worked so hard now for 6 months, and Bridget, who many of our former alumni wanted to be Doc, but she's the first to actually do it, who taught here this year. But he had only a few daughters, and Bridget was one of them. And then to Josie Poppin and John Pomeroy and Carla Cash and everyone in the theater department who has been so wonderful. And as I said, to David Jones, and then to Wim, Bill's son Wim, and to my dear friend Wanda, who kept me on track during this whole thing, and Eileen and Ron and Jane, who just are always kind of the rock in my life. And of course to all of the students, the colleagues and friends, both past and present. And to people like Daniel Finney and Aaron Jacob, who supported us in the media and who gave us these wonderful articles, which are part then of the historical, I almost said hysterical record. That's just me, hysterical. But why Doc went into education, I saw firsthand Doc's powerful and positive influence on his students. Teaching was his passion. But you'd wonder why, how he never thought he would be a teacher. Well, we can actually thank Hitler for this. Yes. Well, following his experiences as a combat infantryman in World War II in Germany, for which he was awarded 2 Bronze Stars, That changed his life. When you killed 50 people by the time you're 20 years old, that does have a powerful impact on your life. I have the honor and the privilege to be editing Doc's World War II memoir. Doc and I had managed to get the first 100 pages of it edited prior to his death, and he said he was comfortable with me completing the job. I found, was capturing his voice. Well, hell, I've been his editor for 30 years. The title of his book is going to be Boyhood's End, but he says this about teaching. I felt an obligation to do more with my life, to live at least one extra life for those who died during the war. I felt a desire to make the world about me more humane. Teaching seemed to be one way to do this. I wanted to add something to a world I had helped destroy. Powerful stuff. Now, why he came to Drake? Well, Buffalo, New York was a little too cold. A little too much snow. And so he spent 1 year and thought, oh my Lord, I'm not in the right place. And he also didn't really like the idea of working in the state system, where in order to put in a new class, he had to go through the entire system. It would take 3 or 4 years to put it in. So he put out his resumes and he got hired by Hunter College in New York and by Drake University in Iowa. And quite frankly, for the first 2 years Bill was at Drake, Hunter still couldn't believe he turned them down. They kept asking for course curriculum and textbook orders. But he didn't want to raise his children in New York City. And when he came out here and interviewed and he saw that a private college, he had the flexibility to come in this chair. If he wanted to put in a new class, if he thought of this in October, he could put a new class in January. Or he could have a seminar. And the flexibility he had and the intimacy of the department was so important to him. But he thought he'd come out here and spend 2 or 3 years and leave, especially considering what the workload was when he first came to Drake, right, David? So those who were of that era at the beginning, the post-Peter Lick era, know, but the schedule was brutal. But there was so much, not only was Des Moines good and Drake good, but it just was a department that he thought it had a good, strong tradition that Prof. Peterlich had established, because Prof had kind of based it on the Moscow Conservatory program, so it was. But Doc saw that there was possibilities here to really create a most wonderful program. And over the years, even though he had many lucrative offers, he chose to stay here. And then later on, I told him I wasn't going to move. My first recollections of Bill when he came to Drake was when I was 12 years old. My piano teacher had her studio next to Bill's in Howard Hall. And I've been on campus since '59, since I was 5. So I've grown up, I'm a campus rat. But I still remember in Howard Hall on the 3rd floor, that's where every other Tuesday night we'd have our little recitals, the piano students would. But that was also where they put the makeup tables, and so, which probably are still the ones you use. But what I really remember was his first funny thing happened on the way to the Forum, and there were all these togas, and there were all these people making up, and these theater people, having this wonderful time, and you guys were a foreign breed to me at that time, this little 12-year-old music girl. And then this guy walking around, wah ha ha ha. And I thought, who is that? And then I had friends and such. So I remembered him, and he just kind of remembered the little girl with the big eyes that said hi to everybody. But the first time I worked for Doc, I didn't like him. I was a sophomore music major. My majors were horn and piano. And Marion Hall approached me in the hall one day. And he said, Linda, he said, the rehearsal pianist for Gypsy has just walked out and got a better job. And he said, we're 10 days out from opening night. He said, we need a pianist. Well, some of the piano professors wouldn't let their real classical pianists perform with the theater people. And so, but I was kind of jazz chick and a rebel. And so he said, it was a quick study. So he said, would you come in and sub in? And I said, yes. So I got the score to Gypsy at 4, had to be the rehearsal at 7, and had to cite me to dance rehearsal. All evening, the rehearsal was here. There was this guy over there grumbling. I don't know, music majors, they don't even know the part, and blah, 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 blah. And I was living at home, and I went home that night, and I said to my parents, I don't know who that Dr. Coleman thinks he is, but nobody treats me that way when I'm doing them a favor, and I'll never do anything for theater again. Never say never. My My junior year, Bill went off to London, was divorced, went off to London and on sabbatical, and came back that summer, and we kept running into each other at the liquor and the tobacco store, and I thought, oh. And then he went to England and Ireland, and I was half English, half Irish, and then I met him at a party, which a few people were at, and so, that was our one date. It went on for 40 years. So, and his partner, but I was the longest student. I mean, he taught me so much. He had an amazing breadth of his mind and his own remarkable talents. I mean, this man was a director, he was a playwright, a historian, an actor, and even though he never admitted it, he was a designer. He had designed over 100 sets when he taught in high school and college just before Drake, but he didn't want you guys to know that because he was afraid you all might make him design things. But he had been. And then he was the one that carried the load for scholarship and articles, and of course the author not only of plays, the oldest living playwright to have an off-Broadway debut at the age of 87. Is in the room where Allison, there she is, and he had a Drake Theater graduate director. The thing that everybody says about Doc, and it was true of me too, is he had the way of seeing a talent and an ability and a strength that people had, often that they didn't even know they had themselves. In a million years, I never would have dreamed that I could become an orchestra composer and be performed all over the United States and Europe. It never occurred to me. But in fact, I didn't think women could compose because look at the history books, how many are there? But he threw me in the deep end and had me start, this was my laboratory, writing scores for shows, I scored 35 shows in 20 years here at Drake. And that was what gave me the opportunity to have, this is my laboratory, learn orchestration, learn collaboration, learn audience, learn everything. So I was really one of his women I worked in, Eric and I were the longest students that he had. But every one of you, I think, can say a story where he saw in you an ability or a talent. It was a genius that he had. I sure don't have it. So, and he had a devotion and a pride in his students until the moment of his death. Many of you were able to talk to him or email him or communicate with him even up until just 3 or 4 days before he died. And he was, most of you can say, he was teaching you something or trying to give you one more piece of wisdom before he died. He loved you so much. You were his life. You are his legacy. This is a physical thing, but you are his immortality. I always thought he was immortal. So this is the house that Coleman built, is you carry it on and out into the world. On June 7th, 2016, Doc would have been 90 years old. This department was founded in 1926 with Juanita Shaw. In 1927, Professor James Federer came as the head of the department, and he stayed here till 1963. Bill came as chair in 66, was chair 8 years, and then taught. He left the classroom in 2000 and officially retired from Drake in 2002, but he never left teaching. As many of you know, he was always willing to answer the phone and help until he died. But on June 7th, 2016, Doc's 90th birthday, and this year also marks the 50th anniversary of when Doc came to Drake. I always get the register, and I always read first the obituaries, and then I read the funnies, and then I follow it up with the horoscopes, just for fun. Here's what Doc's horoscope was on his birthday on June 7th. You've built something that's not just for you. It's for you and your group, your loved one, your friends, and the next generation. They all take a bit of ownership. They will live on beyond any of you. So at this point, once again, I want to thank everybody that has contributed in their own way to this project and just into Doc's legacy in whatever way you can. It doesn't even have to be monetary, just whatever way that you can continue Doc's legacy throughout yourselves. is so deeply appreciated. But there is one special person that we've been dying to see. And when he offered to paint a portrait of Doc, it was a no-brainer. And so I thought, this is exquisite, because David Marcet was a student of Jules Kirschenbaum, who had been at Drake for so many years. And so he not only that, but he was defensive end on the football team. And not only that, and with Ben Wolford, and he was also a shot put and discus, am I correct? Yes. But then in his spare time, he tried to come into the department when his schedule would allow. So actually, he worked with us. David Marcet was in the play Hippolytus, which was, I believe, the last Greek tragedy that we did. So David and Ben were soldiers. There's Ben, and so in that play, and we have some others of the cast here today. So he knew Doc, and so it was a case where this wasn't just an artist who was going to put some oil on linen, not canvas, and this was a person who knew and cared for Doc and was a Facebook friend and all that stuff. So when he offered, it was a no-brainer, and it was an honor to be able to say please, and Drake was kind enough to say, and smart enough to say yes. So what I would like to do is to introduce you to the 1997 graduate of Fine Arts and Painting, but also have a Drake Theater alumni in my mind, David Marcet.
Thank you very much, Linda. I really don't know what to say. I really consider myself a very minor player in this production. When I heard about the project, I wanted to contribute, and this was really the best way that I felt I could. When I did the painting, to save time, I actually used the painting as a teaching tool. I teach painting, I teach fine arts. And so while I was painting the picture and teaching my students how to, all the things that, parts of them that I had learned myself, lots of people came by, and everybody, and there was one word, and this really stuck out to me. There was one word that just reoccurringly came up, and it was that kindness, just that kindness in his eyes, and it was something to me. It was interesting, and I feel truly humbled to be a part of this, and I actually want to thank you for helping me and letting me do something that's really beautiful. So.
Thank you. I think we will all agree is kind of one of the words that to describe him, because I loved being married to that man. I love him still, and this has really helped me. This painting has, in fact, I'm going to have to pry it out of my cold dead hands. and if you see any smooch marks on it, they're mine. Dean, the Keith Somerville and Dean and David to unveil. The title of the painting is Doc in Loving Memory.
As Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, it's been my distinct pleasure this year to put forth all my energy, all my initiative, and all my efforts to continue to strengthen the Department of Theater Arts here at Drake University. We truly have a special program. In the fall of 2016, we will welcome one of a historically large class of entering first-year students into our Department of Theater Arts. Our enrollments are growing, the program is vibrant. It's clear from those gathered here that we have tremendous alumni support and alumni engagement in this program, and now we have the William S.E. Coleman Studio Theatre. This is a major step on the path to creating a nationally recognized premier theater arts program at Drake University. That is my commitment as dean, and this space is a physical reflection of that. Before we go, I've been told I would be remiss if I didn't remind you of a few pieces of housekeeping. Immediately following the dedication, there will be class photos in Monroe Recital Hall. Those class photos start with the class of 2000 and move backwards in time through the decades. So please find your way up to Monroe Recital Hall to get your class photos. The alumni showcase immediately follows the class photos. I've been told I've got something to look forward to, so I'm pretty stoked about that. There are still more festivities to come over the course of the weekend. Please enjoy the rest of your evening activities, and theater alums, I would like to meet you, so please take some time to come up and introduce yourself to me so I can hear your special story. Thank you so much.